This segment is brought to you by Jigmaster Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
Welcome to The Reel Down on Paddle and Fin with your hosts, Dan Perry and Jimmy Skinner, where we talk about everything tournament kayak fishing. Here we go. All right, welcome back to The Reel Down with me and my co-host, new co-host here, Jimmy. Glad to have you on a second week. I'm glad you decided to stay around.
Can't run me off that easy.
Yeah, it'll take a while. I might get there. I'll push you off.
I don't know. We keep having all these awesome people on. I'll stick around.
Yeah. Wes, if you're watching on YouTube, you can already see that tonight we have a big night. We're talking about sponsors, so we wanted to have two people on the show who are doing it right, who are setting the example for all the other anglers. So we have Mr. Greg Blanchard, Dr. Blanchard, and Kristine Fischer. So thank y'all for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
No problem, man. I'm glad we were able to get in touch with you. Greg's a hard person to get in touch with, man.
Yeah, and it's we can go into that, but I always make the joke that I'm like a terrible social media person, but we can talk about that later. Which probably doesn't bode well for the sponsorship thing.
Yeah, you got YouTube down. You're good.
Yeah. Well, so tonight we're talking about sponsors, and it's really kind of everything from, the top to bottom, and we got some questions from some other people, and just kind of want to go over some things. So I'll let Jimmy start off. I'm sure he's got a good one.
Yeah. So really, just to start it off, kind of simple. So, like for me, I never thought it would get to the level of picking up any kind of sponsors, anything. That's not what I got into it for. So for both of y'all, like when you got started, what was like did you have bigger goals for it? Was it just for fun and it just led into it? And then how did you carry yourself once you got that first offer? Like, how'd that go? Either one of y'all can start.
Go for it, Kristine.
Okay. For me, I fished my whole life, and it was never, in the back of my mind, it was never something that I wanted to make a business out of initially at all. I did it because I loved it, and the more I started doing it, the more I started sharing, doors just kind of started to open. I've never been the type of person that has sought after or felt comfortable seeking after companies and looking for pro staffs or sponsorships. That's never really been my thing. And actually, when I first kind of started getting a lot of, offers from people, I turned almost all of them down. I have a different philosophy when it comes to sponsorships, very different than I think what a lot of people probably have. But when I first got my first really good, legitimate offer that kind of met all the criteria that I was looking for, it's like once you get the first one, it's all downhill from there. And I think a lot of people kind of will agree with you on that. But it was never, I didn't even know sponsorships existed. I just love to fish and I love to write. A lot of my paid stuff was through my writing. But I never thought I could make a job out of fishing. So, and I don't really think you can call that a job, but
Hey, if it's doing what you love and it makes you a little money, sure.
Yeah.
And before Greg answers, are you doing okay after your wreck last week?
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm sore. I mean, I'm feeling it, but my goodness, I'm just very grateful to be here. I probably shouldn't be after that. So, I'm pretty tough to kill, I think. So, I'm happy to be here.
How far down the road, off the road, did you go?
Well, it was a mountain road, so it was a pretty much a straight drop, maybe 20 feet or so. But the trees stopped me from going any further that my truck hit. So that was it landed. I know you guys probably saw the pictures, but it rolled completely over and then up on its side. So yeah, my seatbelt definitely saved my life there.
All right, Greg, how about you?
Yeah, kind of similar to Kristine. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I'm pretty new to sponsorships. I think last year was the first year I actually had some formal sponsorships, but yeah, before that, I really didn't know what they were. I just wasn't aware because I think, like everyone, we love fishing not for the sponsorships for the money. We love it because we love to fish. And yeah, so it just became part of the sport and how it's evolving and how it's growing, which is a good thing. I mean, it does show that it's having a lot of positive growth. But yeah, for me, it, everything, and I'm happy to say this, but everything is somewhat come naturally at this point. You know, nothing's been forced, nothing's been like, oh, I gotta try to get this or that. So that's kind of how it's been for me. And again, I'm still in, just like kayak fishing, you know, the tournaments, and as a professional sport, it's still somewhat in its infancy. So, you know, I'm new to all this as well.
Definitely.
Like, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, go ahead, Dan.
Like Kristine was saying, since you turned some down, do y'all allow sponsors to come to you, or do you go to them, or is it kind of both ways? If there's somebody you really want to work with, like St. Croix, like you would go to them, or do you just let them come to you?
I have 5 right now, and I would say,
Can't you say who they are?
so Native Watercraft, I would say that would be the one that I kind of, well, not necessarily. I talked about a sponsorship with them, and that was last year. But I had been in a Native for, I mean, since 2014. So it was never like me looking for a boat to see who I get sponsored with. But Native Watercraft, Fish USA, which is as of last year, Torpedo as of last year, NRS as of last year, and Sierra Nevada Brewing. So that's not necessarily a fishing related sponsor. It's beer, but it's still important.
Hey, if they want to like take on a few more team guys on the southeast side, I think me and Dan got this covered.
Yeah, I mean, the beer sponsorships and fishing, you know, bass, you know, the bass boat tournament side, that it's been a thing. But yeah, like I would say pretty much they've all come to me, and it's been, you know, natural. And I don't know. I think the one big thing with sponsorships, as far as my point of view, is yeah, they're great, and they do require some work because you need to, you know, you need to represent the brand well. But the biggest thing for me when taking on any sponsorship is this going to take away from my passion for fishing? You know, it's like, because I mean that's all I like to do, is I just like to fish. And then if you're out there fishing, you got to worry about the right picture or the right plug, and then it's like, oh man, that's work. I don't want to do that. So luckily, all the sponsors that I have so far are in, you know, complete agreement with that, and it works out.
So you want the sponsors, you want them to be a positive rather than take anything away, because for you, I mean, you're successful in your regular job, that kind of find it, and it's going to be different for everybody, because Kristine, you do this full time, and Greg, you have a full time job, and Kristine, you have a lot of different hustles, right? So I'm sure everybody's balance is going to be different of where that line is. So what about you, Kristine? Do you let them come to you, or do you go for the really big ones? How's that work?
That's really interesting. I mean, just listening to Greg was really interesting, because it seems like though we have kind of different roles in this sport, is, you know, I'm trying to do this full time, and Greg's kind of doing it on the side. My philosophy on sponsorships is exactly identical to his. I haven't gone after any sponsorships. I guess it's all come natural for me as well. And I'm very strict, and I have a vetting process when it comes to people that approach me. And first off, I have to believe in the product. I've got to know that I can put my name behind it. And so I'll turn down. I've turned down some pretty big dollar opportunities because I didn't want to. You can't buy my opinion. You know, it's, in the end of the day, it's just money. And like Greg said, I want my experience on the water to be the first and foremost thing that is coming with me, because then you kind of ooze that authenticity, and everything comes natural, and sponsors love that. Your audience likes it. The people that are following you can trust you and trust your opinion. And to me, if you can just take it slow and let the right things come to you, I guess it's been pretty natural for me as well. And I've just kind of let the right doors open and, been very selective over the years. And it was a slow process, but like I'm relatively new to it too. This last year was the first year I kind of got some really good opportunities. But yeah, I think when you do that and you've got that mindset and you're careful and like, look, fishing comes first, that really just, I think, bodes really well for your presence out there, and it shows that you're genuine, you're authentic, and I think that's a pretty important thing. Set yourself apart from the rest of them.
Well, and it speaks to your professionalism when you both look at it like that. And I feel like the people that force it, or you see it all too often, even in the infancy of sponsors in kayak fishing, guys just going with whoever's offering them something just to say that, oh, I'm pro staff.
Fill up the jersey. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that'll eventually.
Like yeah, you jump from like rod company to rod company to rod company, or from boat company to boat company to boat company. It's like, man, I like the loyalty and the relationships in this industry are so important to me. So not only the product, I want to know the people. I want it, like St. Croix is like a family to me. I go up and have dinner with a lot of the guys and the heads and the president of the company, and I want long-term longevity with who I'm partnering with. That's important to me. So, like I said, I don't think I'm the best person to ask about it because I'm kind of new to this too. But I do have a regimen that I follow, and it's working so far. So we'll see.
No, and that's why we wanted to have y'all on about it, because we wanted to bring people on that their professionalism for it. Like, you're not just flying by the seat of the pants. You know exactly what you're doing, exactly what you want. You know how to talk to the people, and it's good. I love that you said you've turned people down. Not a lot of people could say that. So it's good to hear. A lot of people just think that every time somebody comes your way, you're like, I'll be on your team. Yeah, I'll be on your team. Fill up this jersey, just like you said, Dan.
Yeah. And we lost Greg for a second. We'll try to get him back. So is there, in your mind, what makes a good team member? Like if you're on, obviously, St. Croix and Hobie, is there, what do you, the requirements, not only the requirements that they give you of things you have to do, what do you think makes a good team member?
I think there's a couple of things. I mean, obviously, I like Greg, I'm pretty fortunate in that I don't really have to do a whole lot extra, when I'm on the water to worry to get the right stuff for my sponsorships. All I have to do is do what I'm doing, and I just have to be on the water. I've got to be fishing, sharing my content, taking photos. It's never over the top salesy. But another thing that a lot of people overlook is how you represent yourself in the community, how you engage with people, volunteering, putting on events. I think it's kind of a multi-faced question. And I think it's really important. There's a lot of these guys out there that I know are so upset because they're like, well, I have this tournament win and this tournament win and this tournament win, and I can't get sponsors. I'm going to tell you something right now. The majority of my sponsors and a lot of the ones that are going to pay the big dollars don't care about your tournament record. That they care very little about that. They care about your character, how you represent yourself, what you can do for them, the content you're able to share, and just most importantly, what you give back to your community. It's really important.
Yeah.
My volunteer stuff and the events that I help run and put on, I think that goes so much further for me than any of my tournament wins out there. Obviously, they're a bonus, but it's really helped be well-rounded.
Something to take off of that too is what a lot of people they misunderstand when you say pro staff. They think professional. It's promotional. That's something like you're saying. Yes, your tournament records help, but like in my case, I'm not a hammered tournament angler by any means, but I have a big voice and I'm very good at backing up a company that I believe in. I represent them well. I don't mind going to work for them. I'm not looking for a paycheck from them. And I have people ask me all the time, like, how'd you get involved with Hook One Outfitters and NuCanoe? And honestly, I couldn't tell you. It just happened. And, I'm a no BS kind of person, and I handle myself professionally in public when I need to be, and I mean, it's just really simple.
I think like what Kristine's saying is being that whole rounded angler of, community, doing all these different things. People know who you are. If you're doing it right, if you're building a name for yourself, it's not always a name out on the tournament trail or Tourney X or, Angler of the Year rankings. It's who you are as a person and everything.
Definitely.
So are you there, Greg?
Sorry about that, guys.
No.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we just have your audio, but that's fine. So what do you think? We asked Kristine, what do you think makes a good team member or kind of the responsibilities that you have? What do you try to do to be a valuable person to those different companies that you represent?
I think, just being authentic. I think nowadays one of the big things is, of course, you want to be with social media. You want to be a good role model. You want to just try to represent yourself well, hold yourself well, and with social media nowadays, you got to be careful. You got to be careful with what you post, what you say, because it's there. It's there forever. And I think that is probably the biggest thing for me is, trying to stay away from any negativity for the most part. If you get even like little things like on like YouTube, and I'm sure Kristine gets this too, if someone leaves you like a nasty comment or says something, you want to say something back, but
just fire back.
But I don't. Just kind of like my general rule, and just try to take the high road. But that would be one thing. The other thing would be, again, like I talked about, being kind of authentic, and this is just my opinion, but not promotion is good. You want to promote your sponsors and plug them, but I think there's a time and place, and overdoing it sometimes can be somewhat of a turnoff. And I think nowadays we've seen that with a lot of people just plugging and plugging and plugging and buy this and do that. And, people are savvy nowadays. And I think it's almost an automatic turnoff. And I've talked to my sponsors about that as well. It's just, I'm not going to be posting every day for, this product, that product, because people realize what you're up to. And, I think that also makes a good team member, is just being genuine and showing that you just love what you're using, what you're doing.
So on the other side of that, what do you think makes a good sponsor? Like, what are some sponsors that you've worked with who they're doing something right, maybe above what some others aren't?
I think good sponsors, for me at least, have been the ones that agree with that philosophy or that mentality. And I've had other opportunities that it just didn't work out. They wanted this or that. Every time I was on the water, they wanted X amount of posts on Instagram or Facebook. And I think, sponsors that are flexible in your goals and what you truly love, I think that's what makes a great sponsorship. And at that point, I don't even think it feels like a sponsorship. It feels like you're just working together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it feels like a friends and family kind of thing. And that's what you hear most anybody talk about when they talk about having a good sponsor or company behind them. It's just like having another extended family.
Yeah, exactly.
People you can be serious and when to be professional, but you can cut up with them and, make jokes and have a good time.
And I think I've seen, I follow some of the, the bass boat guys, the pros out there. I've always been a pretty big fan of like Bass and FLW and, other tournament circuits out there. And I try to get, follow the behind the scenes stuff and the sponsorships. And I think a lot of pros have that too, but it also depends on, what you want to do in the industry, in the sport. For me personally, that's how I like to approach it and the relationships that I like to develop. But, if there's a person out there that wants to make it on the pro circuit, whether it be, the boat world or now the kayak world, you might have to compromise. So I think there's definitely, you have to align your goals with how you want to approach sponsorships as well.
Definitely. So just to
So
take a small step back from that, both of y'all saying you're new to this, who was your first actual, like sponsor or staff position? If you want to say, you don't have to.
The Native Watercraft for me.
There you go.
Are
Pro
we?
staff.
Yeah, it is it. I'm trying. I consider I don't know. I'm kind of different. I consider a sponsorship like a cash deal. Are we or a product deal? What are we?
Either one or both.
Either,
Yeah,
I mean, I think my first actual like pro staff was I was trying Jackson Kayak about 4 years ago now. I'm pretty sure that was my first. I guess we would call it pro staff.
Mm-hmm.
so if you're, I mean, you're obviously in a Hobie now, and everybody knows that. How do you make that? How do you? And hey, that's nothing against Jackson at all.
No.
There's a right book out there for everybody.
Right.
How do you make the transition? Let's say somebody, like they stepped in it, they got in, they got a sponsorship with somebody, things aren't working out. How do you make that transition to leave them in a positive way? Or, like you were saying, whenever we started, you don't want to bounce around from rod company to rod company or whatever it is, and then people know you as kind of a leapfrog or whatever it is.
Right.
How do you make that like Craig Dye is a great example. He said that he talked with New Canoe for a year before making that transition. How do you leave a company and do that right?
Communication, I think, is huge. I actually had this happen with a hard bait, or actually they wanted exclusivity. Like I said, this was last year. I had a bait sponsorship from a company that I had thrown their pike baits for like 10 years. They're a Scandinavian-based company, and I loved them. But what I started to learn is that I was so new to it. I didn't understand what exclusivity really entailed, and I was running into trouble where I'd post a picture of on just a story of like a duck call, and I'd have a different bait, like a Chaos Medusa, laying on the floorboard of my truck because I'm unorganized like that, and they'd reach out and say, "Hey, why do you have that bait in this picture?" And I was like, "Man, this is." This is really tough. And it came down to it. And I reached, luckily I had a good relationship with them. And I was honest. And I said, look, guys, I love your product. I just think that, exclusivity in all realms of the bait worlds, I'm going to be fully honest, I can't use them during a bass tournament. So that makes it really tough for me as an angler that is trying to be very transparent with my audience. It's, and I was 100% open and honest with them, and they appreciated that. And I said, I love your baits. When I'm pike fishing, I will throw them. Hopefully I can use them over at Hobie Worlds over in Sweden, and, I'll always get you guys some great footage. I don't want any more cash from you all. I hope you understand. And they did fully. They were really sad to see me go, but they understood that, it was probably a deal that I outgrew very quickly. And it just, the terms just didn't really align with both of us. But just being honest, I think, is the best way to do that, and respectful.
I feel like
Greg?
it probably is a stressful moment. Like, I could only imagine when I'm trying to make that phone call to be like, hey, I wouldn't even know how to start it. Not, hey, I found something better, but hey, this isn't working anymore. I don't know. In my head, that would just be a crazy stressful moment.
Well, that's why that's the only time I've ever really jumped ship like that early, because I was like, man, I really have to think very, very, very hard about everything from here on out. But that was one of my very first cash offers. And so I didn't, I was like, I love this company, I love their baits, they're good people, this is a good fit. I didn't really wrap my head around what that really entailed and what exclusivity meant. So now I'm very, very careful and make sure that going in, I understand and can fulfill every obligation.
How about
It makes you
Greg?
have a
just
lot of matter.
Telling them to go to hell?
For me, I mean, I actually, that hasn't happened yet. I haven't, like I said, last year was the first year of sponsorships. So we're with the same ones this year. So
Greg just kicks back another Sierra Nevada and keeps going.
that helps too. But no, I would agree with Kristine when that time does come, because I assume it will at some point. It's just the evolution of the sport and how you grow. But
In your career.
I agree. I agree with Kristine. Honesty, just being honest. You gotta say what's going on. Like, you can't beat around the bush and try to go behind. You just say what's going on, and hopefully that you guys can end on good terms. And I think that would be probably the way I'd approach it.
Right.
Definitely.
So another question, and I mean, y'all are obviously two of the biggest names in our sport. Can you tell some people about kind of what the different level? Maybe somebody's just getting in. They've had some companies approach them, but they haven't decided to not do it yet. What are some of the different levels that you know of sponsorship, and like what they could expect, whether that be product, cash, discounts? Like, is there one where it's like, you don't really want to mess with that? Can you talk a little bit about the different levels? Now, without being specific to what, we don't want to discuss what y'all get or anything like that, but.
Right.
I think it really varies for each company. It really does. I know that, there obviously are, from the very bottom level, there's just a product discount code, then there's free product, and there's product in cash. But really, and then there's different levels of cash as well. Man, that really varies, at least for me. And what I've kind of heard and kind of learned about the industry per sponsorship. Some sponsorships pay people's insurance. I've heard, it's all over the spectrum. So what I think that, at least for me anyway, Greg probably can fill in some other loopholes on that too.
Yeah, no, I agree. It definitely depends on the company, how big they are. You've got some big companies out there that have a lot of, a bigger marketing budget. So I think in general, though, for the kayak world, you're looking more at a discount, maybe some free product, which is always great, because hopefully, you're involved with that company because you enjoy their product, and then you can offset some costs. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that you're looking for. I think that's always something that is realistically attainable at this point of our sport, is offsetting costs. You're not going to get rich off of this. You're not going to get paid a ton of money by companies, but offsetting costs to do something you love, you can't beat that. As far as just things to avoid, just if you feel yourself using something that you don't like, and I'll go back to this all the time. If you feel like you're doing work for a company, then it's time to think about it again.
Definitely.
Absolutely. It has to be mutually beneficial.
Right.
What would be for people, just getting into it, that are, approaching that level, what would be like the biggest red flag to look out for, to be like, no, I'm wrong, I don't need to be talking to these people?
I think definitely when a company would approach you and say, look, you can buy our product, and we'll give you a small percentage off. And it's like, wait a minute. And we want you to promote and do this and share this. That you'd be surprised how many companies will reach out. I have friends tell me about this all the time, and it's like, no, that's a huge red flag. And that's not, how is that beneficial? You weren't buying their, that's not okay.
And your discount is still more than what the wholesale price is. So they're still always making money no matter what. So yeah.
Exactly. You have to look at it like that.
And I'm sure every one of us sitting here has gotten one of those emails or Facebook messages where they're like, hey, we want you'll get your discount after you spend $50.
Are you good enough? Are you ready to be sponsored? Yeah. How about you,
Sorry,
Greg?
guys.
Oh, that's okay. How about you, Greg? Any red flags you want people to watch out for?
Oh, red flags. Geez. Well, that would definitely be the biggest one right there, just because that doesn't make sense. Red flags. You know what? I'll have to come back to that. I'll have to think about that. But I would say that's the biggest one right there. Is
Yeah,
if it's not beneficial to you, mutually beneficial, we'll say. Then I mean, you got to rethink it.
And I knew that was going to be the answer. I just wanted it brought up because it's the one you see so much. Like and it's not just in kayak fishing. You work one of these expos and you see 15,000 people that are sponsored by that same company or sponsored.
Yep.
So here's another one, and kind of y'all are both masters at YouTube. How do you control your image? Hey, I watch your videos. I love your videos too, Kristine. I like the Kristine juice. Like you have to sell that. I watched your newest video. Everybody should check that out. I liked that video. She was slaying them on Lake St. Clair. So yeah. But so how do you besides just posting, like, you don't want to post political things or things that are obviously going to upset a portion of your audience, I guess, or the people who are paying attention to you. How do you control? I've never made a bunch of YouTube videos. Is there something that goes into whenever you're making and editing that video? How are you controlling what people think of you or your image or your brand, or how do you? I don't understand how you could even go through that. So what's kind of
my brain doesn't concept that either.
Yeah. I mean, is there like, oh, I want to be cool, and I know you're not going to say, oh yeah, I only put stuff that makes me look cool, but you know what I'm saying? Like, where are the lines?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, for YouTube, and I'm sure Kristine's the same way. I mean, you gotta be yourself, first of all. So you can't, or at least that's my mentality. I know there's different YouTubers out there that, they do it for a living, and they have other goals, just like anything else. But for what I do, I mean, it's not hard to edit just because I'm out there fishing. I'm being myself. And I think I'm somewhat notorious for this, but I show the skunks. I show the tough days.
Yeah.
I show, I mean, man, I still say I'm learning. This is, I think this year I've actually learned more about the California Delta than I have in the past too. So fishing you're always going to be learning and fishing. But for me, just being myself, the only thing I really would cut out would be if I like curse or something, or maybe some the night before a tournament and my buddies do something stupid. You can cut that stuff out, but
man, that might be your success though.
That's the thing. YouTube's weird because you can get some crazy videos and you can get all these crazy thumbnails and titles, and I mean, I try to be pretty keep it honest for the most. It is honest, but you can't just make a silly, and Kristine knows this too, you can't make a silly title or a bland title. You got to have something interesting,
clickbait
about you. Yeah, I don't know, clickbait's a whole nother thing, but just being yourself. And I mean, that's really all I've tried to do, is just showcase my day on the water, whether it's good, bad, ugly.
It's got to be difficult, like getting to that point to where you can give that up. I can give up looking, like I got skunked. And like you said, that's some of the most endearing part of your videos are that you skunk sometimes, and you go to in and out and you show people that that's okay. But it's got to be tough to cross that line, the threshold of, okay, I'm gonna show that I suck sometimes. I mean, that's a tough thing to do. How about you, Kristine? Yeah.
Wholeheartedly agree with Greg on that. I said YouTube is just something that I know nothing about YouTube. I started just putting my tournaments out there because I wanted to maybe inspire some other people to get into kayak fishing and show transparency. Like Greg said, the missed, there was a tournament where I swear I missed 15 hook sets in a row, and I was like, my gosh, like, do I even know what I'm doing out here? And I say that on the camera, and people love that because it's relatable. Greg and I are both, I think, pretty talented anglers, but we're both human too, and have a lot of room to grow. And I think it's really cool that we showcase that and are truly ourselves on there. And I edit out when I caught my big bass, I edited out a lot of curse words, for sure. That's about the only thing that I edit out, because I'm aware that I have a very large audience and a lot of young women and kids, and I try to be as professional and as much of a class act as possible when I'm doing that type of stuff without giving up who I am. I just try to clean it up a little bit, and showcase that and be very real. I think is the best thing.
Yeah, I would agree.
And y'all both. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Greg.
go ahead. I was just saying, just trying to clean it up to maintain that professional image. I'll tell you what, it's becoming to the point where, and I never, I don't go to. So my normal job is I'm a physical therapist in a rehab center, but my coworkers obviously know this other life that I have, and somehow it gets to the patients sometimes. So I always think, okay, if one of my patients is watching one of my videos, what do I really want to be looking like? So. I think maintaining that professionalism when you edit a video is super key. And then going back to your sponsors, that's key as well.
All right. I got another question with the YouTube videos. How do you give up your spots? I can't imagine. Like sometimes you have those magic spots, and I'm sure it's got to be so tough to give those up on YouTube.
Because somebody's going to check them and pause them and hit the background and find a house in the background.
You're going back to that spot next time and your boy is on there. I saw you put your video online. That's on you, Greg.
Yeah. Yep. That's good point. Well, usually for me, my uploads are ahead of time. I usually have videos going live about 2.5 weeks after I shoot them. So the spot's probably changed for me. I do have a rule though, a rule I've developed over the past couple of years. It's if I didn't find the spot, there's no reason for me to showcase it or give like GPS coordinates, because like if your buddy shows it to you or they take you there, I try to respect that, or I always respect that. But that is part of the game now that I've realized is, we fish a lot of tournaments out here in California, and I fish these lakes that we have tournaments on, and I have had plenty of times during a tournament that I'm pretty sure folks are going to that spot because of the video. Actually, they've admitted it to me, which it's fine. It's fine. That's one thing. Spot's one thing, but you still got to catch them. And I've learned that many a times fishing with my buddies who, they'll go smoke them, and I'll catch a couple out of there. So it's a tricky thing. The big thing for me is if it's not my spot, I try not to blow it up or keep it subtle, because I will say I probably get messages, emails, comments on exact locations 15, 20 times a day. And it's unfortunate.
Some people just run with that. You never know until you ask.
Oh yeah. But and that's the one of the comments, other than like some negative comments, that's the other comment I don't answer is the spot location. I hate to be a jerk, but it's just when I don't
find your own spots, people. Don't ask for them.
Yeah.
Kristine, how do you give them up?
Again, 100% agree with Greg. If I have a very hard rule on if it's a spot that's a friend of mine's, you'll never see it in a video or a photo of mine. That, and I've got a few gyms that I've worked really hard over my travels to find. And it's those, I have a couple musky holes that the videos would probably be really, really cool, but there's not an amount of money in the world that's worth people finding that spot, because if they do, it's ruined. They're so small and very isolated. So but as far as tournaments, I post a lot of my tournaments. You can tell some of my big wins, you can see exactly where I'm at. And the way I look at that, like to what Greg said, the people can probably tell where you are and they'll find it, but they got to catch them. And if you look at the elites or MLF, all of their tournaments are up there and live, and we go back through videos and look and see where the pros were fishing. So I think that, we almost, that's part of the game. As far as my fun fishing videos, like St. Clair, that's one of the most pressured lakes in the country, and you're fishing a big bull. So I got no problem putting that stuff up there, because there's 100 boats in the background for the most part of it, But those are just kind of again, with Greg, some of my rules of thumb on that. There's a lot of videos there's a lot of days I don't film. I just go out and I just want to be on the water with no camera, no anything, and some of my little honey holes. And
For you.
those,
yeah,
those will never make it to the internet.
And really, that's kind of what KVD's run. I know with him, he would have 50, 100 boats chasing him at every single tournament. He knew if he ever did well at a tournament, he could never go back to that spot again because it was burnt. But maybe that's something that's going to propel both of you to be better, to push yourself, because so many of us go to those same spots over and over and over and expect the same or better results. Maybe sometimes being pushed somewhere else will make you a better angler. Yeah.
Like Kristine said, it's part of it, because I saw it all at the Classic this year. Everybody was like, oh, Hank Cherry was catching them right here. You know how many Classics have been won off that one spot? That's the most notorious spot on that lake. Everybody knows about it. But it's still, some people are just like, oh my God, I got to go fish there. But one last thing on the YouTube stuff is, both of y'all, Kristine said that, she doesn't know anything about YouTube, etc. Both of y'all's tournament videos are so killer though, because even though I already know the results and how you did and that you won, I'm still like there's suspense when I'm watching the video. And to be able to do that I think that's really killer.
And the way that you break it down on the water too, like both your techniques or what you're doing, it's it's great not only for just the entertainment value but the educational value. Like, I've seriously watched both of your videos and been like, wow, it's something I wouldn't have done or a technique I wouldn't have used in that situation. So thank you.
If you had my tournament videos on, there would just be silence until the fish catch, because it's all going down in my head, but I'm definitely not telling you. So it's really good that you can remember that you're recording and talk it through. I don't know, it's really good. Y'all do a great job.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and you know what? Tournament videos, I'd say those are my favorite to make. I love fishing tournaments. First of all, just love fishing a tournament, but I love the one thing I really have found to enjoy about YouTube and why I continue to do it is it's kind of like it's your journal. It's your fishing journal. You've got all your tournaments, your trips right on YouTube. You can review them, you can look at them, and it's just a nice log to have. And those tournaments are definitely fun ones to make and share with everybody.
If somebody hadn't seen all your videos, is there one, like a favorite one you would want people to go back see, or one that was your favorite? Kristine?
Yeah, go ahead, Kristine.
Greg. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Greg.
Oh, okay. Yes, for me, the one that I think it's like the main channel video when you first go onto my page. It's the one on the Delta from last year. I actually was very lucky to win that one. It's where I caught my personal best. But I like that tournament video because it showed just a complete train wreck in the morning. Just everything was terrible. I made an hour and a half ride to the spot. Tide was blown out. Everything looked terrible. I wasn't catching anything. I was missing fish, and and you try to be positive, and I always do. Try to be positive, but you think in your head, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a bomb. This is gonna be terrible. But that morning I was like, you know what? You gotta persevere. You gotta just keep fishing hard. And it turned around and, won the tournament after catching a few really fortunate fish. But that would probably be my favorite video that I've put on YouTube, just because it shows, the struggles and, why you got to keep fishing hard, and good things can happen.
The highs and lows, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah, you've got a lot of great ones, but the Texas one with over 30 pounds, I think it was.
Oh yeah, yep.
That was an awesome video. Yeah. Kristine, how about you?
Well, I would say Kentucky Lake, except for the day one of that tournament, my audio wasn't. I've had so many technical difficulties with my GoPros over the time. My audio was tough, so that I'd probably say because of that, my the Southeastern Championship on Pickwick that I won, was probably my favorite video, because that was a
The
huge
wolf
one.
pack and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that I just had to adjust and adapt and really talk through. And I think that one really showed, perseverance and technique and just really dialing in. I was so dialed on that bite and that area. And after a really tough practice. So I think that was probably my favorite video. I think for sure. And I really enjoyed that one.
And you said both those, Kentucky Lake and Pickwick, and those were like summer or warm weather tournaments, and you caught the fish pretty shallow in both those tournaments, right?
Yeah, my fish were caught in less than 6 foot of water, which for me, like the year before that, all the checks I cashed were in more than 15 foot. I mean, I'm a ledge fisherman. I'm an offshore fisherman. I love that deep bite. I could not make it happen this last year. All my tournaments that I did well on were in less than 6 foot of water, which is crazy. I mean, I just couldn't. I've tried to force that offshore bite in so many tournaments, and I just couldn't do it. So it was kind of a neat year, growing year for me, and I learned that I really like to fish shallow too. So.
Right, yeah. You don't suck at it to do so well in 2 tournaments, but yeah, watching those videos and see you catch them shallow whenever most people are out deep, yeah, it just showed just how good you are, So, very cool. All right, so we talked about sponsors, your YouTube. We won't bend your ear about that anymore. I could talk about y'all's videos all day, but so what do y'all have
try
going?
not to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'll just fanboy, and we'll just go forever. But so what do y'all have going the rest of the year, Kristine? All right, you're fishing the Chickamauga a bit for BASS, right?
Well, it got canceled, but Steve-O is putting on that recruitment tournament, and it's placed 23rd. I'm actually fishing a local tournament there this coming Saturday. Then I'll fish that one, the BASS recruitment tournament the Saturday after that, which I'm pretty stoked about, because the tournament on Chickamauga I won last year is 2 weeks after this. And I think, I hate to fall into old patterns, but I think my area is going to be even better in May than it would have been in June. So,
and the spawn's so late this year that it's probably about the same time, and in spawn cycle time. So
yeah,
it looks like I need to keep my entry fee money to myself.
No, I watch y'all blank during this tournament, but no, I'm pretty excited. I love that lake, and I get 2 tournaments on it. And then I'm really hopeful for the Hobie on Kentucky Lake. Really hopeful for that. So we'll see.
It's a go right now, right?
We will know an official answer by the 18th, but it's looking okay.
So
Awesome.
Hobie BASS, that's your thing this year, right?
Yeah. I try to get a KBF or 2 in there, where it makes sense in my schedule. There's so many date conflictions that it's really difficult to make one of the regions work, unfortunately for me. And I did already qualify for BASS on Logan Martin, so I will fish 1 or 2 more of those, but I'm gonna really focus hard on the Hobie series.
There you go. Yeah. So Greg, what's the fishing like up there in Cali?
In California, oh man, well, it's like you'd expect. It's pretty good. We've got so many places to fish here, and diverse fisheries.
Is everything shut down for you right now, though?
Yeah, pretty much. Things are starting to reopen. Luckily, the Delta was open for the most part during this whole ordeal. A handful of launches closed, but you could still get on the water and fish. But they're just starting to reopen some of the lakes. Like I believe Clear Lake just opened to non-motor vessels, so kayaks, canoes, float tubes, stuff like that. And that seems to be where they're starting at. But it's exciting. These fish haven't been touched
on pressure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they're used to a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure out here as well.
I was just about to ask that if with everything else closing, because most of the time when you watch your videos and stuff, you do seem like you're the only guy out there. Unless it's like you or Bam or somebody with you. Have you seen like a lot more kayak traffic like out on the Delta or anything during all this?
A little. I pretty much work every weekend unless there's a tournament. So I'm always out there during the weekdays. But I've heard that the weekends have been crazy, traffic wise, kayaks, boats. And the problem with, them closing everything down or closing 99% of the lakes down is the 1%. Everybody goes to the 1%. And then it's like, okay, there's 300 people here. Is this really the point of it? But no, I usually fish during the weeks and it's weekdays, and that's not too bad.
So what kind of you got any tournaments coming up? Are y'all starting to fire off, like doing full virtual or anything like that?
I know that they've been doing like the online monthly still out here in California. But as far as tournaments go, I mean, I haven't heard of anything official yet. We had one, I think it was either this weekend or next weekend, and that one's off. So the next tournament that I have is, I believe, June 28th. And that's out here in California on New Malones. And, I'm assuming that'll happen. But yeah, not many tournaments this year.
Yeah. Tough year for everybody.
Right. Everything will be all backloaded at the end of the year where you're trying to figure out what to fish. Yeah.
And Worlds is still long because Greg and I are both part of the 6-member team of Team USA to go over to Sweden this year. But I haven't really heard anything. We haven't bought any plane tickets or anything yet. So I hope that's still a go for us.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything either. I mean, I'm not really following it too hard, but I mean, they said it's still on, I believe.
Yeah, that's the last I heard it was. I just we'll see.
They never closed over there, right? In Sweden, you said they stayed open pretty much the whole time, right?
No, I think they had a pretty, I think Europe in general was pretty tough on all of that as far as outside travel and everything. So.
All right. Well, we appreciate y'all. We don't want to take up too much of your time. Thank you. As a fan, I've watched y'all stuff, and just thank you for putting out that content. Like most of the time, I'd rather watch y'all's videos than anything on TV. So as a fan, thank you, and thank you for being on the show.
I appreciate
thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all. We'll be back here in just a minute. Thanks. All right, welcome back. So we had Greg and Kristine, and that was awesome. Definitely two people I've wanted to talk to for a long time.
Yeah, I could keep both of them on all night asking them questions about their videos, which we were so close to floating down that hole.
Oh yeah, I could went down. I could just kept going because I literally think I've probably seen all their videos of both of them. Like I said, I'd rather watch that than anything on TV. So yeah. My wife said
you asked them what their favorite video was, and I was like, I already know because it's mine too.
Like I told my wife who I was having on because I've said his name enough times. Oh, I'm gonna watch this Greg Blanchard video, and she's like, "Oh, the guy from YouTube." Oh, yeah, and she don't know who anybody is. So if my wife knows who Greg Blanchard is, you're moving the needle on some point. Like I don't know if you want to move that needle, but you've moved the needle. My wife knows who you are. That's something. And Kristine, and she was like, "Oh, Kristine, your favorite, YouTube fisherman." So
everybody knows who Kristine is.
Yeah, exactly. And like I know I didn't want to broach the subject of her being a female angler because I think there's enough of that. I think,
anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no need for us to bring that up, but just man, I'm proud to be a part of a sport that has a female angler who does so well. That's one of the great things about our sport. So I'm happy about that. We didn't talk about it.
I won't be afraid. I'm not the person that's going to be afraid to be like, "Hey, a girl just kicked my butt." Like,
oh no,
not at all.
She's
like
winning. Yeah,
right.
Fished with her, and she whooped me on Logan Martin in the same area. Her and Cody Milton met up. And then she whooped me. Me and Ryan are going, and then she whoops me. Her and Cody hook up, and they both qualify for the national championship. So, yeah. So she whooped me there, like other times. So I'm not ashamed of that.
And it'll probably happen again.
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen again. So we had a bunch of tournaments last weekend. Tell us about them, Jim.
Yeah, so the tournament season's finally starting to pick back up after all the COVID stuff, it looks like. Midwest Kayak Bass Club had their first event out there on Fox Lake in Wisconsin. And Pal Cha ended up winning that one. He had a 91 3/4. He had a pretty big bag too. He had a 20 was his big kicker, an 18 3/4, an 18 and 2 17.5s. And they were doing the 5 fish. And then Greg Vickers came in second with 88.5. Blia Zhang with 87.75. I probably screwed your name up. I'm so sorry if you're listening to this. And then our boy Brian Schiller got 8th in that one, 82.5. And he was saying that it was freezing. So that tournament was probably tough for everybody to. So 90-inch stringer, and I think he said it was 29 that morning.
Yeah.
Not this
in
guy.
that area,
not happening.
Yeah, that's a big bag in that area, you know.
Yeah. Well, then, all right, so down in Tennessee, CTKA had their third stop on Cordell Hull. They had 21 guys show up for that, and they're doing the 3 fish stringers. Ben Baker got that one with 55.5. He had a 20-inch kicker and 2 17 3/4. And then, and I screwed up and didn't get these guys' names, but Mr. James had second place with 51 3/4, and Mr. Dodd had third with 48. So those are good 3 fish bags. Yeah. Let's see, who else we got going on? All right, down here in Louisiana, they had a statewide one-day tournament. The BPKF group, 5 fish. Jacob Shrell had a 93 1/4 stringer, 21.5 big fish, just stepping it up. 20 3/4, 18, 17.5, and a 15.5. So he had a heck of a stringer, and he still had a 15 hanging on the end of that one. Do one more fish, and you're blowing him out of the water. Yeah. Jamie Broad came in second with 85 1/4, and so I don't know if they're brothers or cousins or whatever, father and son, but Kyle Shrell came in third with 79 1/4, so taking over the top 3. That's pretty awesome. And then we had a Michigan-Ohio Kayak Angler Open, and I don't know if they use their abbreviation like I'm reading it, but it's MIO. But first place in that one was Mr. Salzman. He had 93 3/4. Second place was Jim Orr, 91.5. Mr. Hines came in 87.5 in third, and then Jackson Orr came in fourth with 86.5. So the Orrs are still 1-2 as best they can out there. And then one that I thought was worth mentioning, it's called the Shoe on the Other Foot /909 Fishing. It was a one-day nationwide tournament. Only had like 9 guys in it, but I was just scrolling through Tourney X and saw this, and Mr. Bean caught 103 3/4 inches. And I didn't catch, it didn't have his location, but he anchored his win with a 26-inch largemouth.
Yeah, dog.
That's a Mrs. Jean Wilson fish. That's one of them tanks.
Yeah.
I wish I had a picture to put up of. I mean, that thing's eye was like the bottom of a Coke bottle, dude. It looked huge. Yeah. But yeah, that was just a few of the tournaments going, and hopefully with everything starting to open back up, we're going to start seeing a bunch more live tournaments again. And I mean, I know you've got one coming up with Iron City on Smith, right?
Yep.
And then North Alabama Kayak Anglers, they've got one on Lake Weiss. Yep. I'll be judging that one. I'm not going to make that one to fish, but so it's starting to. We're still doing the virtual captains meetings and weigh-ins and stuff, but I think we're really close to getting everything back to normal.
Yeah, this weekend it's kind of Alabama's opened up enough to where we could probably do a weigh-in, but then it'd be awkward. It'd be weird. Like how do you be away from each other and then you all of a sudden you're together again? It'd be weird. But one other tournament I wanted to bring up, the KBBT Kayak Bass Bracket Tour. I got spanked.
I meant to ask you if you wanted to talk about that, so I figured I'd let you pull that one up.
Hey, man, I know KBF loves him. He whooped me. I'm not going to, anybody that puts, no matter where you're at, you put up over 100 inches 2 weeks in a row. I'm not going to say anything. That's amazing. I've been down there. I haven't been to exactly where he's fishing, but I've fished Florida plenty, and I've never seen him just jump in the boat. You do actually have to catch the fish. So, congratulations to him. But the final 4 are Conrad Benetti, Rodney Kinnon, Jonathan Pepin up in the UP, and that is so awesome. he's winning with just smallmouth bags. That's amazing. And Matt Frentress. So this weekend is Conrad Benet versus Rodney Kennan. And that dude's a hoot. If you haven't listened to him live, he's like this, older guy down in Louisiana. I think that guy's a character. And Jonathan Pepin and Matt Frentis. But also besides that, we have 5 Live this weekend, which is they're doing 2 hours Saturday, 2 hours Sunday, top 7 people. Craig Dye and Tim Perkins snuck in there at the end with the social media part. But welcome. Good luck to all them, and hopefully.
I think Craig's got something to prove. He come up that one fish short.
And we're actually going to a different format where we will be on live on Mondays rather than Friday shows. So that's changing. And so hopefully we'll have the winner of 5 Live. I've talked to him at group chat, so hopefully we can make that work out. But yeah, be looking for us on Mondays.
It sparked up some trash talking in that group.
Yeah, it did a little bit of trash talk. But how do you talk trash? Like, I got all 7 guys in that group, and like there's a little bit of trash talking, just a little. How do you talk trash in that group? Like, everybody is amazing. That's like, I don't know how you could talk smack against 6 of the other best anglers in the country. How could you do that? So
yeah, dude, it's gonna be interesting. So something else before we go. The paddle and fin bracket's still going, right?
Yeah, this weekend. So Saturday and Sunday from 3 to 7 Central Time. There'll be 4 a lot of groups. So me and I'm fishing against JP Allen. I should have all of them right here in front of me. But Sunday is Dustin versus somebody, and then me and JP. And Saturday we're from 3 to 7. I just had Kristine and Greg on. I'm still fanboying over here, not thinking about it. But so Saturday and Sunday from 3 to 7 Central Time, we're going to have live coverage. So
I'm gonna try to jump on that live.
5 Live. Yeah, in the morning you'll get to watch 5 Live, and then the afternoon you'll get to watch not as good at anglers, but still live, entertaining fishing on Saturday and Sundays. But we're having like double the amount of time, so it'll be 4 hours instead too. So the quality of fishing goes down, the quantity of content goes up. So we're trying to offset that. So there you go.
Got to make up for it where you can.
Yeah, something. All right. Well, be good, everybody. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you all on Monday night.
That's right.
Yeah, wear your PFDs.
Go check out the website, guys. Paddle the letter N and fin.com. Also check out YouTube, youtube.com/paddle and fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest, feel free to email us at paddle, the letter N and fin @gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're doing giveaways, announcements, things like that at Facebook and Instagram at paddle and fin. Shout out to our show supporters, Rocktown Adventures, Leveling Canoe and Kayak, Hammered Lures, Fish Mob Lures, TRC Covers, Catch Products. Go to catchproducts.com. You can put the paddle and fin logo right on your catch board. Don't forget to go over and pick up your Jig Masters jigs. Use promo code PNF20 and save 20% today. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps grow the audience, helps others find our podcast. So please drop a 5-star rating in on the podcast platform you're listening on. Don't forget about the recycled plastics program, you guys. Take your used plastic baits, put them in an envelope, mail them to the address in the show notes. Our man Eric Richards at Hammered Lures melts those down, makes new baits, and donates them to various chapters of Heroes on the Water.